Strange goings on in California as the gold rush continues for the world's top golfers. And Europe's footballing stars on the gold trail, the very best league action from home and abroad. Hello, good evening. In Sports World Extra tonight, the conclusion of the US Skins golf tournament from beneath the Santa Rosa Mountains, where Jack Nicklaus, Greg Norman and Nick Faldo are all in pursuit of Curtis Strange and a fistful of dollars. As well, our usual comprehensive roundup of all the top European football. And we begin at home, where the Barclays League First Division is heading for a showdown. Once again, Liverpool and Arsenal locked in combat, but the pressure on each of them beginning to mount. And Crystal Palace, Leeds United and Manchester United all waiting to take advantage should they slip up. Manchester United were in the mood to unhinge Liverpool on Sunday, but they reckoned without Kenny Dalglish's latest bit of inspiration, David Speedie. And don't forget, you've still time to phone in your votes for the goal of the day. The lines are open until Friday. Our first stop then, Old Trafford.
And plenty of grey shirts in the back, particularly looking for Bruce and for Pallister. It looked like a handball by Hussein. Penalty given. Well, Hussein, I can't understand that. And the Liverpool players look totally nonplussed. Kenny Dalglish can't believe it either. That was amazing.
Well, sometimes when you jump like that and you miss the ball, your arm automatically flicks up. And that's what I think might have happened. I don't think he's actually gone to hit that. But the way he's jumped and the way he's started to fall, his arm sort of hurled up and hit it, although it looked blatant. And he had no choice but to give a penalty.
Steve Bruce, 10 goals this season, 7 of them from the penalty spot. He's got it! United go into the lead with 26 minutes gone. Irwin with the corner. A deep one. Oh, a great save by Grobbelaar from Robson. Terrific bit of goalkeeping there by Bruce Grobbelaar. But what a header by Robson too. Oh, Barnes, lovely bit of play. Oh, lovely play by Barnes. Now, the little cross to finish it off. It's in there from the Speedie. But no doubt who the architect of that was. That was magnificent play by John Barnes. What about that?
It's probably the first time we've seen him really involved in the game, and that was absolutely special.
Up to Wallace. Gone round Burrows to the man of the match, Brian Robson, and his pass might come to Leclerc. Grobbelaar way outside the box and a handball, and he's going to be a red card. Will it be? Could be. It's a yellow card.
Arsenal lost the air of invincibility that's seen them come through one or two sticky moments this season. Bobby Campbell's kids on a high after winning at Spurs in the Rumbelows Cup and going in front through Graham Stewart, one of Chelsea's younger generation. And by the time Chelsea put the game out of reach, and only just out of reach, Arsenal were pushing forward, making life uncomfortable for Besant, but inevitably leaving gaps, one of which Kerry Dixon was delighted to exploit. Arsenal have only won once in 5 games, but statistics can often be misleading. If they've got the character to try and rescue a lost cause, as they did through Alan Smith, they certainly have the talent to go with it and to start winning again soon. There was an element of, if at first you don't succeed about this one. Palace beating Forest for the first time at the 5th attempt this season. Eric Young's header 4 minutes from time to leave them only 3 points behind Arsenal. Having spent 10 years in the 3rd division with Brentford, Sheffield United's Bob Booker isn't going to give up his First Division status without a fight. He led the way, wearing Vinnie Jones' number 4 shirt, in United's best performance of the season, scoring after 20 minutes and then a minute later. It was a misty old afternoon at Bramall Lane and a mist in the eyes of Southampton's defenders, who found themselves penned in by the concentration of United's repeated attacks. This is Brian Dean. Glyn Hodges on loan from Crystal Palace. He got the winner against Derby last week and chipped in with the 3rd. The fourth came a minute after that. A suspicion of offside attached, but Brian Deane weighed in with his 12th of the season, 4-0 before the half-hour mark. After the break, which saw the usually laid-back Chris Nicol laying into his team, Southampton pull one back through Kevin Moore. But Harry's boys are off the bottom for the first time in 4 months. A goal of the day contender and one to vote for if you feel it's time. A Brazilian-style free kick got the nod from Ian St John. That was Kingsley Black. With only 12 goals from their last 16 games, QPR were up against it, and that's putting it mildly. But enter Les Ferdinand. There were more unexpected twists and tails than usual near the bottom. Mind you, Luton only had themselves to blame. This is the 90th minute. This goal of the day contender was Rangers' winner. Ferdinand unchallenged and therefore unstoppable. As one reporter put it, this game could give 5-goal thrillers a bad name. Dean Saunders enabled Mick Harford to put Derby in front. And if it's any consolation at all to Derby, which I doubt, it must be that their goals were of greater quality. Their lead lasted 2 minutes when Gary Micklewhite committed Harry Carey, an irrational moment that gave Gordon Cowans the opportunity to score his first of the season. Villa's penalty taker in the absence of David Platt. Now, anyone who rings in and votes for Villa's second as a goal of the day contender will be dispatched forthwith to the funny farm, more like a loose scrum, with the ball eventually coming out to Tony Cascarino on the blind side, and his first in the league since September. 5 minutes later, Villa took a match-winning lead when the ball was played through for the Tobagan World Cup player Dwight York to score his first goal for the club. And a little reminder that Roger Miller and the Cameroons are here this week. Derby's response was a genuine goal of the day contender from Mel Sage, but defeat means they go bottom. 2 points out of the last 27, 6 straight defeats. A genuine crisis. Sunderland are heading that way. At the moment, they're relying on picking up points at home because their recent record away is far from encouraging. Gary Owers stuck up a hand, and defensively that was their first big mistake, an hour gone. Tony Norman made a valiant attempt to prevent Sheedy's penalty from going in, but he couldn't do anything about the rebound. Unfortunately, he could have done plenty to prevent Everton's second after some neat work down the right by Neil MacDonald. But Peter Beagry's header squeezed through, followed by the obligatory somersaults, the closest Everton came to hitting the heights in a drab game. Since their last outings in the league, Coventry have been removed from both the major cup competitions, Wimbledon out of the FA Cup at Shrewsbury. 1 goal in it, fashion who's knocked down for the former Coventry man Terry Gibson. Less than 5,000 bothered to turn up. 4 wins on the trot is usually about as long as Norwich go without a hiccup. It was brought about by Manchester City's 4th win on the trot, and a goal of the day contender after 2 minutes by Niall Quinn. City went 2 up just before half-time. Quinn's header, and with Clive Allen contemplating an overhead, man of the match David White whipped it in. Roles reversed from the first goal. Norwich got one back with about 10 minutes left, a bit scrappy really in comparison to some of their recent goals. Quinn got himself all tangled up on the line and John Polston knocked it in.
And that's Niall Quinn goal on the Saints shortlist for goal of the day, and you've got until Friday to phone in with your vote. 5 cash prizes of £100 to be won. And now it's into Europe, bitterly cold the further east you go, and the top teams throughout the continent feeling the pinch. Nothing's cut and dried anywhere.
Very wet too in Spain, where Terry Venable's one-time favourite Roberto opened Valencia's scoring against his old club Barcelona. The goal made by Eloy. Michael Laudrup equalised for the league leaders only 4 minutes later, but in these cloying conditions, pretty football was always going to be at a premium. Much better to let fly from 30 yards. Terrific shot by Laudrup, considering his boots must have been weighing a ton. Valencia, who've had a disappointing season so far, went ahead for the second time when Goycochea brought down Eloy. Not much doubt about that. You can't blame the driving rain or the quagmire. The Bulgarian international Penev completing the formalities. There's more than a suspicion of offside about the Barcelona equaliser, which keeps them 4 points above their nearest challengers, Atletico. Penilla, the young substitute, swivelled well to plant it in the far corner. But what about his colleague near the line? Real Madrid have blossomed unexpectedly. Tendillo collecting this rebound to start a riot against Seville. Real had lost their last 2 home games, but no sign of apprehension as Maceda crossed and Butragueño nipped in very smartly to make it 2-0 on the half hour. Seville, who were second in the table until October, looked thoroughly disjointed, especially when Michel drove in number 3 early in the second half. Now stand by for the best goal of the match, scored by Gordillo, who's been out all season with injury. John Toshak didn't have the benefit of Gordillo. Di Stefano has, and goals like this made the absence of Hugo Sanchez almost unnoticeable. They were coming thick and fast now. 2 minutes later, Hierro bursting through for the 5th. And then Seville got themselves into an almighty tangle. Appeals for a penalty turned down, but Butragueño scavenging like a good un, and Michel extracting maximum profit with a perfect chip under the angle. This is more like the Real we've come to know and love, and Michel at last justifying his huge salary. If Real wanted revenge for that 2-0 defeat in Seville early in the season, they were getting it. Butragueño, the vulture, finally spread-eagled, and Aragon poised to make it 7-0. Di Stefano's men move up to 4th, but still 9 points behind the leaders, Barcelona. In Holland, the 2-horse race between PSV and Ajax has been interrupted. Willem II, who hadn't beaten Ajax for 32 years, started to put that right after 9 minutes. Van Giel scoring from the spot. Only 3 games survived the weather in Holland, Ajax regretting this was one of them. Ernie Stewart waltzing through the offside trap to make it 2-0. And if you're wondering about the surname, Stewart's half American and played in the USA's friendly against Portugal before Christmas. Ajax couldn't find any sort of reply until the 70th minute. Curious, because they were the only unbeaten side in the first division and had just extended Leo Beenhacker's contract for 2 more years. Bergkamp eventually pulled it back to 2-1, not without some controversy. Stewart, however, with an eye to the World Cup in 3 years' time, is out to improve his international standing and did his cause no harm at all with a runaway second in the 84th minute. So Ajax, needing to close the gap on PSV, slipped to 3rd place despite Pettersson's late effort and despite the fact that PSV could only draw at Utrecht. Anderlecht have won the Belgian title 20 times. Little Ghent, a second division team the season before last, have yet to win it. But when Van Tigelen fetched down another Dutchman, Erik Viscaal, on 10 minutes, Viscaal threatened to extend Ghent's lead at the top. Anderlecht, however, believe they've uncovered the new Maradona, as we warned you last week, and 16-year-old Nee Lamptey, the Ghanaian, came up with the equaliser, his 8th goal in 7 league and cup games. Ghent still a point clear of their great rivals there.
Well, now it's golf, and the 3rd and final instalment of payments in the US Skins tournament at La Quinta, California. An opulent setting for a few lucrative rounds of golf between 4 of the best and richest players in the world. Leading the field is Curtis Strange, who won the tournament and a cool $265,000 last year. Not all of it goes to him, mind you. A percentage of the winnings goes to charity. Well, Strange has already pocketed $150,000 this time. Greg Norman's $90,000 in credit, with Nick Faldo not far behind. He's won a car to go with his money as well. Both, no doubt, quite satisfied with their first Skins appearance and just hoping and praying they'll be invited back for as long as Jack Nicklaus has been. We're picking up play at the 17th, a tricky little hole known as Alcatraz, from which Lee Trevino fashioned the perfect escape a few years ago. Commentary now from Roger Twaddle, Jerry Pate and Peter Jacobson.